I am going to start off with what do you admire most about Chung Sing?
I admire her forbearance, her resilience, her patience to let her son become himself and not, trying to make him into that cookie cut, you know, stereotypical Asian American kid.
Yeah, that's very fair. There are times though she definitely, she slips. Um, Emotionally, what was the most challenging scene?
The character really resonates with me emotionally very deeply because I am an immigrant mother who's gone through all that drama, raising my two American children. So emotionally, it's not that difficult. It's just to make the right judgment um, to in your performance. So um, it was slightly challenging because the first scene I did with Chris, with Isaac, um, is the scene that we fight in the car. So they shot for 10 days also, and I landed on the set. And so that was like my first entrance into the movie, was actually one of the most dramatic and important scenes. So that was somewhat challenging, but I'm a professional. I've done it all my life. Um, in the first rehearsal, I already knew, just by talking with Sean and communicating with Sean, that I could rely on his judgment, that I could trust him. And with Isaac, I also felt instant chemistry. So it just felt like I'm doing it with my own kid. So yeah, that was the first scene. Slightly sort of more, a little bit concerned before I started filming, but once it starts, it uh, just flowed out of me. So it was all good.
You guys nailed that scene. That was a whopper
Yeah,
of an emotional scene for
yeah.
sure. Did you have any directing advice for Sean, or when you work as an actor, do you treat them very separately, like those roles?
I treat them very separately. I know that I never give advice if I'm not asked for
Mm.
advice. And I don't think uh, most advice really don't work. I think people need to really go through their process. And, there are times I'm asked to give some advice and now see, what I could offer. I always want to be helpful, but no, I didn't need to give Sean any advice.
That's the least Asian mom thing you ever could have said about just not giving unsolicited advice.
That's true. That's true.
It's very different. Did I read correctly that your daughter was a PA on this?
Yes, she is.
Okay, so has she seen the entire film yet? Because I know they premiered.
Yeah, we went to Sundance together. It was
Okay,
such a
yes.
great experience. Yeah.
What was her reaction to seeing like the entirety of it put together? And like did she say like you got it, mom or
It was so funny. It was like afterwards, she saw me and she just give me the elbow and not looking at me and said, "Good job, Joan."
she called you Joan?
Like in
I
the
no, I get
in
it in a
public,
playful way.
she
Yeah.
only calls me if we're not at home. That's
Yeah.
what she calls me. She calls me Joan. Um, at home, I think starting from my older daughter, she learned from what age I forgot. It's always mother. I'm like, oh, you don't call me mom anymore. You call me mother, mother. It's always mother.
Well, I'm glad you all got to experience it together at Sundance. What is your family's peacemaking meal? Like, what food unifies you and those around you, even when you're frustrated each other, right? Like, I love the burger restaurant scene, so I'm wondering what your family comes together for.
Well, I think my um, bridge between me and my daughter emotionally sometimes after some fraught moments or a time period. it's always me making food, offering food,
Mm.
and they like my cooking. And so it's always like, oh, can I make something for you? My older daughter has been a vegetarian all her life, basically from 5 or 6 year old on. And my younger daughter was a vegan for like 2 3 years, and so food's very specific.
Hmm.
And I know how to make food for them, and it's always that concern about enough nutrition intake, enough variety of foods. It's that is a peacemaking offering, and that is the thing that's not a dangerous subject to
Yeah.
to to talk about. So yeah, food does play like a really important role, I think, in a family.
That was the most Asian mom thing you could have said
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
I know that like MySpace was a specific moment in time. You probably did not have one, but each profile had like a theme song that was kind of your mood. What would your current MySpace profile song be?
I don't know. I am such an old folky.
But it
Like
could be
I,
anything. It could be anything from your history, anything from
it would probably be um Dvorak. I mean, it's like
that's great. I love it.
I
Honesty.
listen to classical music, and especially love the romantic period. So like Rachmaninoff and Dvorak. Yeah, like this New World, the Symphony New World. I don't know. Nobody else
Perfect.
probably would pick that, but
I'm sure, honestly, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who have picked that. I know this might be a complicated question for you because I'm like aware of your background. So, growing up, were there any cultural traditions that you had that perhaps you didn't appreciate as much, like when you were younger, but now you've learned to embrace?
mm,
So, like
a
for me,
cultural,
and this might be more for like your kids
yeah.
too. For me, it was like having to go to Chinese school, like which
Oh
I
my
know is not
God.
something you had to experience because you
Oh
grew
my
up there,
God,
but
I forced my kids to do that. I forced my kids to do that. No, we didn't have that kind of ritual at all in
Mm.
China. I grew up in the Cultural Revolution.
Yeah, I know.
And
That's why I was like,
so yeah,
traditions were.
no, like most
Yeah,
rituals are those political rituals.
yeah,
Like every morning you go to kindergarten or you go to preschool, elementary school, you bow to Mao's
yeah.
portrait and things like that. It's all not a family. And even actually, it's so seeped into our minds that some people even do that in their household. Like we didn't do that in our household, but no, 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 we're not. My parents and my brother, my grandmother, we lived together, but we are we are shy of ceremonies. We
Mm.
don't like that. We're shy of expressing even feelings. Yeah, no.
I understand. I come from an Asian house. I get it. um, um, uh, Growing up, who was your favorite fictional character? Again, I know it might be a complicated question given where you grew up, but I like asking.
It's always like a hero because the like all the Chinese class
Yeah.
textbooks, they were about this or that hero, and there was a hero. Well, I three most important heroes, and one of them is called Lei Feng. Lei Feng is always doing good deeds for
Mm.
people, for your neighbor, for the strangers you meet on the street, for anybody. He is a selfless human being, and that would be the role model for all of us, that we try to become that. In a way, we idolize that, and
Mm.
the hero worshiping became so much part of my blood. Like, when I come to movies, for instance, like
Yeah.
Braveheart, I would just love it so much because it's the same type of hero,
Yeah. Yeah.
patriotic hero,
Yeah.
and that was my upbringing.
There's a no
Yeah,
moral ambiguity. They're good, no questions asked. Like versus
yeah,
now where it's just like everyone
yeah,
is complicated, which there's no right or wrong
yeah,
answer.
yeah.
Um How do you define personal success now, and how has that changed from when you were younger?
When I was younger, you just want to be like as revolutionary as the example I just gave you,
Mhm.
these people. And yeah, you want to be praised as a good revolutionary. And it was simple as that, because that was the ultimate in life. There wasn't, people say, oh, what did you want to do when you grow up? I said, I had no idea. We didn't have
Yeah, there are no
choices.
options, right?
We are assigned. We are assigned to do whatever we do, and you want to be the screw that they screw onto a machine, and you want to be that function. That screw is you. So it's so different. It's like so different. But even now, I realize, for a while, maybe in my 20s, I wanted to do the best film. I wanted to be a successful actress, you know, being wanted, get good roles. Um, Now at my age, I think I just want to be always be creating
Mm,
that, because I realize that these so-called success, it sort of comes and goes and doesn't make a dent, doesn't make an impression, doesn't make a difference. What truly gives me joy, like makes me feel like I am alive and life is worth living, is that you continue to create. And if I'm not having a part to play, if I'm not directing a film, I might be writing. I actually just published a book in China that came out this month, um, which I did during a lot of the quarantine trips when I went back to China. Mostly, not the entire book. Just that, you know, writing and reading made that quarantine in one hotel room for 3 weeks doable, and at times enjoyable, at times aesthetic. Um, so, if I'm not doing any of it, I'd make a dish, or I try to work something with a needle and thread, or make something. It's just like, just to be able to create something, uh, something that wasn't there and you made it, so it's there. That process, to me, if I could continue to do that, I'm happy. So whatever, is that a success? I don't know. Just to continue to create.
thank you so much. Congrats on the film.